Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. In this video, we're going to unpack the importance to changes that are coming for SPS. You're going to need to stake it on your account in order to earn. So is that going to ruin the game? Is it going to disincentivize new players from getting started? Is it going to make it impossible for new players to get started because of the financial constraints once SPS starts rising? Is it going to crush hard prices because the collection power no longer means anything? There's lots of deeply rooted concerns around this potential change that could be coming to Splinterlands, and I hope you'll stick around and stay tuned for this long video so we can unpack this detailed topic together. Have an amazing day. God bless. Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Hope you're doing well tonight. Hope you're excited to be talking about some Splinterlands and be hanging out. It's just me tonight, so I miss your show lots. Glad to be here. I'm glad you're here too. Worry about the SPS staking thing that it might ruin the game. Yep. Certainly, that's a big change. Now, it feels as though we've always, or at least for a while, we've understood that collection power wasn't doing what was intended. Steve's been around long enough to remember when we didn't even have collection power. When I first started playing this game, I think I might have had 6 full splinters. But then I divided it amongst 3 different teams, 3 different accounts. And I was able to, with essentially 1 or 2 splinters on every account, make it into high gold. And we're talking, I don't know how much collection power it would have been because back then we didn't track that stuff. But I know that once collection power kicked in, when it began, I needed to consolidate my cards in order to achieve those higher levels. And so it made sense, and it was striving to answer that problem where if you're not deeply invested in this game, then why would you be able to reach the highest levels? And we want to gate the rewards in a certain way so that people can't exploit it. They can earn, but they can't exploit. That's the thing I keep saying now, because it's like we want people to be able to earn, but we don't want them to be able to exploit. And out of that, like ever since that change, we've seen how that hasn't really satisfied the intention, which the intention again is to see that people become more and more deeply invested so that they can earn higher and higher rewards. But clearly collection power is not doing that. I mean, especially since now we've created wild and modern being half the CP requirements. It's really actually quite easy to get the CP necessary to achieve the highest levels. So CP isn't gating anything. It's like, if you want to get the champion, you need 250,000 collection power. And that might sound like a lot, but I mean, from $1, if you were to go out and buy the cheapest CP, it's like 1,000 CP to $1 or something like that. So, $200, $250 to get that and to get into champion, like to get into the highest levels of this game. Now, you might argue, well, hang on a second, you could buy that collection power, but you can't buy the quality that would be required to play at the highest level. True, 100% true. But the point is, what is collection power doing? Is it gating the highest league levels? Is it establishing a deep commitment and investment in the game? Or is it doing nothing? I think it's at this moment, doing nothing. And that's not been the purpose. That's not been the intention. So it's been broken, and I think we're trying to fix it. And so does this idea that we would remove CP and just require SPS staking improve things perfectly? I don't really know yet. I want to think that through. I want to hear more about it. But I do have to say, we've always known that SPS staking on accounts, or maybe we haven't always known. I don't know if that's in the white paper. I think it is. But for a long time, we've known, at the least, that SPS staking on the accounts will be kind of that necessary next level. And that will essentially replace CP. We've started hearing that more and more, that CP's got to get gone, and they're going to introduce the staking. So now, is it going to kind of cripple things from a new player perspective? I mean, that's always the question, right? We want to see new players have opportunity to earn, but not exploit. That's what we just said, and that's what the game seems to want. That optimally, that would be preferable. If we could offer new players an enticing opportunity to earn, but not a system that can be exploited. I don't know if this is going to resolve that, or if this is going to be a perfect balance. I suspect nothing, very few answers are perfect, so I suspect there'll be flaws. But I have to say, I don't think it's going to break the game, ruin the game, because, remember, we're going to be able to stake SPS on one another. We're going to be able to, if we can stake SPS onto John Doe or Jane Doe, that would imply that we would, a mechanic whereby we can probably rent, like delegate SPS staking, right? It seems logical, because if I can delegate to you for the purpose of staking on you because I like you, because I want to entrust you with that SPS stake, I don't see how technologically that's any different than a rental market where I'm staking 1,000 SPS and anybody who wants to pay a fee can receive the attribution of that stake weight. You see my point? And so I actually expect an SPS rental market to develop, not to mention quality performing players will receive SPS staking on them to satisfy these needs simply for the self-interest of the staker. Because the person using the SPS to apply to John Doe is going to do so out of the self-interest that the SPS owner wants to receive a certain proportion of the rewards that John Doe is earning. So it feels like to me, those are going to satisfy concerns. Those are going to, I guess, undermine or like resolve. Maybe resolve is not the right word, but they're going to help, I think, some of these concerns that I'm hearing maybe from Steve's point. Ruin the game is a strong phrase. And I just feel there's at least room for optimism around the idea that good players can receive free stake, and then also that a rental market could be very plausibly created. If you doubt that a rental market could be created for SPS, I would love to better understand your thoughts around that, because to me, that is going to be an important factor. I want to see an SPS, like a marketplace where, John Doe, Jane Doe can go ahead and essentially rent SPS staking on their account so that they can unlock the highest levels of rewards. And maybe it's like a nifty arcade situation where you borrow it in advance and you pay the lender at the end of the season once you've received your own rewards. And in that way, the player doesn't necessarily need to even fully understand the finance of it, right? They're just like, yeah, you got the money, get me going, and then you, Dwayne, will receive retroactive payment once I've earned it. I don't know, man. I can't see how that's not going to work. And I can't see how that would be. I just feel as though that's going to resolve the concern there. But I will say it's a gigantic change. It's a gigantic change from where we've been. And I can imagine a number of players who don't have an SPS bag and frankly should have been collecting SPS over the last year and a half, or whatever it is, but have refused to because they just they don't see value in it, and they keep seeing the price decline, and they think to themselves, I'll wait till it's cheaper. Well, guys, like the game requires that. I don't know. Like this part always kind of just grinds me the wrong way. It gets the back up a little bit because I start feeling like, what are we doing? Are we pretending like it wasn't abundantly clear that you needed SPS to earn through this game? And in fact, to almost undermine the severity of how required SPS has been or will be, you heard recently Matt in one of the town halls mention that the white paper alluded to how we need SPS staking on our account in order to earn. When we will get there, and that was the plan. But then Matt said, or alluded to the fact that they might even pull that back, so that it's not exactly the case that without SPS staking on your account, you will get nothing. Actually, he made it sound as though they're at least entertaining a totally different, watered down version of that reality where if you have a good SPS bag, you get more rewards. But if you lack that SPS, you get less rewards, but still rewards. And that is a watered down attempt at this whole SPS staking. And that is an acknowledgement, or like at least like a nod of the head, tip of the hat to the concerns around new players and the startup costs. So you see, I guess I'm trying to articulate an argument for how it seems like one, there are plausible angles to make this bearable. And two, the team is recognizing that it could be a bit onerous to move from CP to SPS stake. And I think they're already thinking through ways to make that more palatable. So I don't agree that it's pointing toward ruining the game, but I am deeply intrigued and eager to hear the details of how this is going to work. So great comment there, Steve. Thanks, buddy. Okay, Steve says, my issue is it makes it very hard for a new user from Brave to join and earn because SPS is not that easy to buy. Yeah, man, I hear you. There are concerns around the access to SPS, but you do have to admit that they have already kind of articulated angles and avenues through which we will be able to support those players. And some people might think, well, no one's going to want to support me. Wait a second. If you play the game well, then I am going to want to support you because it's in my best interest to support those players because they're going to win and I'm going to receive rewards. So I think if that mechanic is done well, and it's going to be hard to know until we see how that works, we need to see the math around it, right? We need to see, like how does it work? Do you need to be in the top 5th of best players, the 99th percentile in order for me as a staker on you to receive a meaningful reward? Or what about if you're in like the 80th percentile? Like there's probably going to need to be math around how high you need to perform, and then what that would translate to a payout, and then how that payout gets divided between player and staker. If that's navigated well and wisely, this could be smooth and easy. But I'll be the first to admit that sounds pretty complicated to get right the first time. And so we'll see if there's going to be some barriers or tricks around that. Bye, Jock. Good to see you. Astral Robot, hey 12. Either they were just too nice with the CP numbers. My full Chaos level 4 deck should not have power to be in Diamond. Yeah. See, and that was was it an oversight? Was it a lack of thought around, I'm talking about collection power. Was collection power kind of misunderstood? It was implemented because of all the reasons we talked about. We're trying to band-aid solution for gating league levels. But then we understood that we should have understood if we're going to keep issuing new packs, there's going to be a growth of collection power. If we're going to keep issuing reward cards for free through play, there's going to be a growth in collection power. And that's going to be CP creep, which is going to make it easier and easier to get into higher league levels. I don't know if that was overlooked or if it was simply just, we need to put this Band-Aid on the thing now to get to a place where we can, eventually have SPS staking. I don't know. Or like set, you have to have the core set at level of league you want to be in. So I think you're saying there, Steve, that you're kind of proposing the alternative solution around collection power where it's about the league level of the cards more than it is about the CP of the cards. So if it's a silver card, if you have a silver deck, you can play in silver or maybe gold, but you can't really play in diamond. I thought we were going to do that. Didn't we kind of agree that we were going to do that? I feel like that passed, or was that just talk? Because that makes a lot of sense to me, come to think of it. But then are you saying that you wish they will, remove the intention to stake SPS on accounts? Because I feel as though that was white paper stuff. And I feel as though that's just done. That's a done deal. No? I'm going to keep reading. If I see you comment on that, I'm going to read that. So let me know. How about the renters that might not have enough SPS staked, but play in top leagues? The renters. Yeah, so they would not make the top leagues unless they had access to, some deeper pockets. Now, two things. One, you could rent it I think you're going to be able to rent the SPS. Three things. One, you could buy the SPS. That could be expensive. Two, I think you're going to be able to rent the SPS. Just like you can rent cards, I think you're going to be able to rent weighted, staked SPS on your account. And then three, and I'll tell you one more thing on that. I haven't said this yet. I've said it before. I haven't said it yet here. You can rent Hive power and staked Hive through the blockchain. And so I feel confident you're going to be able to do this with SPS. Can I show you this somehow? Let me think about this here. Okay, so this is Hive, and when you go into your wallet, you can buy Hive power, and you need Hive power in order to transact on the Hive blockchain. So you want some of it if you're going to do things like post, trades or rentals or whatever on, Splinterlands or Splex or whatever, right? But you don't necessarily have to buy it. You can actually delegate it to people, and that means that there's a way through which you can rent it from people. I forget how to do that right now, but I've done it before. I don't remember right now, but I know for a fact you can pay some small amount of Hive. You can spend like $1 in order to rent essentially like $300 worth of Hive for like 90 days. And so if that's possible already, it seems like the SPS staking is going to be pretty easily integrated into that sort of mechanic. And that to me means you have three options: buy the SPS, borrow the SPS, or receive it as like a delegation because you're quality. And in the example from AMA, he goes like, well, what about the player? I think it was AMA. Wars. Somebody said the comment, no, Bajok. What about these high quality players fighting at the highest leagues? Well, those guys are quality. They know what they're doing with Splinterlands. They're going to win. They're going to earn. And therefore, people like me who have a good amount of SPS are going to be eager to delegate whatever they need so that they can compete in those tournaments, so that they can compete at the highest league levels and whatever else. Because not because we're sweet and generous and loving, but because we are self-interested and we want to see the returns that are going to come from that amazing performance that person is offering. First, Steve goes, it might ruin the value of cards. They are not assist that earn on their own. I think you're saying the SPS staking mechanic could damage the value of the cards because it means collection power is an important part, or it's at least some part of what gives a card value. And if collection power is no longer necessary, maybe card ownership is no longer, or card ownership is less necessary. So you're going to see fewer and fewer copies of certain cards being held for collection power alone, which is probably a fair conclusion. So let's talk about that for a minute. Would SPS staking impact card value because CP becomes unimportant? Well, the primary reason a card has any value is definitely because of its utility to help you win. For sure. A card is valuable because it helps you win Splinterlands. Secondarily, it is valuable because it is offering you some amount of collection power that allows you to reach certain league levels. But I would argue that's a really trivial consideration right now because of all the reasons I laid out earlier. Collection power has really failed to gate any of the league levels, right? It's quite easy and very inexpensive to acquire, to buy the collection power needed to play at the highest league levels. Now, if you bought 250,000 power and then tried to fight in champion, it's not going to work. If you bought 500,000 power, it's going to cost you, I bet, $400-500. You're not going to compete in Champion 3 with the sort of collection power you're able to buy. So what's my point? Well, CP isn't gating anything. And so to the extent that CP is not, it is failing to gate the leagues. To that same extent, CP is not adding value to the cards, in my opinion. It's adding a little bit of value to some of the players who are at the lowest league levels, who are like brand new and have, no cards at all, and they're playing with starter cards, and they're trying. It seems to me the hardest one is moving from silver into gold. You go from 15,000 CP is super easy to get, and then gold at 100,000 is actually if you're brand new, that's a bit of a hurdle. And so there are some people who collection power, buying it for collection power's sake, is a factor. But at the highest levels, at diamond even, I don't believe there's a lot of people going out and buying, really, I don't know, maybe. Are you fighting in Diamond 1 with 200,000 fake power, like, cards that are not functional? I doubt it. I really doubt it. Champion, again, I feel strongly you're not really doing that. You might have, 500,000 power that happens to be really non-productive, not helpful. But I can't see how that would be, you wouldn't be buying that for the sake of adding to your CP exactly. You'd be buying it for the one because you think those cards are going to appreciate. So again, I think the primary use case for cards is obviously the fact that they help you win. Secondary use case for the cards is the fact that they could appreciate. And the tertiary, or like the third reason you might buy cards, is because of the collection power. But I actually think the third one is actually pretty nominal. So if I'm right about that, I can't see how the argument around CP going away would really deeply diminish card value. Just my thoughts, though. I mean, I'll be watching it too if that happens, and I'll be watching those card values for sure. Outwars, isn't it like gatekeeping the game behind a sort of paywall? Only whales can get the champ now. New small investors are going to stay in bronze. I don't agree with that, Outwars. I really don't. Again, like, let's just go over to Peak Monsters right now. Even if you wanted to rent power, man, like, look at this. Click. No, hang on. Can I do this? No, I gotta go through buy. If you go to buy and you compare and you go CP to cost, look at this, like $1 for 1,400 CP. It's never been higher. Or sorry, yeah, the CP per dollar has never been higher, which is to say collection power is dirt cheap. So I don't really buy that players are currently able to get into higher league levels because CP is available when they, I think it's really inexpensive to get into high league levels through the collection power mechanic. And simultaneously, I think it's actually going to be really inexpensive to get into higher league levels through the SPS mechanic. So I don't see how that's different. Now it's different in how it works, but the suggestion that, how did you say it? Only whales can get the champ now. Why? Because only whales can access SPS? Right? And that's not true. I mean, we don't even know how much SPS you're going to need to hold, first of all. So a suggestion, I'm hearing a fair bit of assault about this topic tonight. And I don't see how that's justified based on what you currently know. The suggestion that it's going to ruin the game, suggesting that only whales are going to make it to champ now, to me, those are really unfounded assumptions. Now, I have to admit, I can't prove to you it's going to be perfectly okay. I can't prove to you it's going to make the game better. I can't prove to you, that you're wrong. It won't ruin the game, or that you're wrong, Outwars, that somehow only whales will now get the champ. I can't prove anything on this. I'm just saying, wait a second, guys, we really don't know. And I have articulated, I think, 3 different ways, 2 ways that you could acquire an SPS bag with almost no cost, meaning it's not whale specific. It's not a huge monetary cost. The first is be good at the game and receive free delegations. And the second is rent it, because I'm certain that process is going to exist. I feel like we're kind of going around in a circle on that. I'm going to keep watching the comments on this. So if you feel that there's something we haven't tackled on this, I'm happy to discuss it. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit and see what else we got in the comments here. A new player might not have any knowledge of how to rent SPS. This is a fair point. Steve, one of my main concerns about the game is definitely that there are not only hurdles in the way of a brand new video game player getting involved in Splinterlands, but we are making more and more hurdles because there's these new packs. We're changing rules. The reward systems keep being revamped. all of this alteration and turmoil and confusion is definitely not making it easy for a brand new player. And so I think you're probably onto something here. A new player might not have any knowledge about how to rent SPS. The trick is going to be, if we want to reach mass appeal, we want to, you know, really attract typical gamers to get into this game. I think we need to remove barriers. And I don't see it as being, you know, I think the answer is going to be through a season pass. I have proposed that there would be season passes we would offer that would give you access to a certain amount of tournaments. Picture this: you pay $20 per 3 months. You have the season pass. You have to buy 4 season passes every year. In January, you have to buy a season pass. The season pass gives you all of the SPS required. It doesn't give you SPS. It essentially appoints you, or it like satisfies the SPS staking requirement for you. So I'm not saying we give the person SPS. I'm just saying we let the season pass act as a marker on your account. This person has all the SPS they're going to need to receive the rewards from their daily payouts. That is one thing we could do to satisfy the rank rewards. You could also imagine that there's going to be a creation of tournaments that are going to be in the events window. And it'll be like season pass January, season pass February, season pass March. And maybe there's one a week where those tournaments are available to you. And there's obviously no, you know, there's no limitation. Some of these tournaments have, tournaments have expectations that you have so much SPS staked. Well, those tournaments could be built in such a way that, again, that marker on your account from the season pass indicates you are welcome. You don't need extra. So that's another thing that could add new value to that season pass and create new ways for brand new players who lack any understanding of blockchain to just walk in the door and start enjoying. And I think that is going to be really pivotal for us to be able to unlock a new sort of, let's say, pool of players, like a whole new schwack of individuals that can give this a shot. Because you're right, whether it's SPS staking, whether it's buying cryptocurrency, understanding this market versus that, liquidity pools and how they work, you know, Hive blockchain keys, exchange fees that are on the exchange, you know, man, there's a million things that couldn't go wrong. And I've personally lost hundreds or thousands of dollars because of the complexity of cryptocurrency. If you guys don't know, I've got probably 3 or 4 really bad stories where I lost what amounts to, I guess, tens of thousands of dollars probably. I mean, I lost Bitcoin in like a stupid Ponzi that I was too foolish to understand. I lost IOTA, like thousands of IOTA, because I didn't understand how the tangle worked, and I used an address more than once. I lost several $1,000s worth of other cryptocurrencies using exchanges to margin trade, and I didn't understand what margin trading was, and I got liquidated. Like, cryptocurrency is not only complex, it's literally dangerous. And if in the wrong hands. This is so revolutionary that to be your own bank and to have the freedom to kind of control your money, it's an amazing, powerful tool, but that power is dangerous in the wrong hands. And so, yes, we need to eliminate those barriers. And I think a season pass is going to be part of that answer. The table we have shows that if I stake SPS on him, I get terrible returns. I don't know enough about that. If that's, again, like I said earlier, if the numbers are not sufficient, that economy is something I wouldn't be able to comment on until I properly understood it, and I don't. What else is going on down here? Then they pulled away DC and now want to make us stake SPS to earn. Yeah, I mean, that was a big change. Yeah, I feel like I've said something recently about all the changes. I guess I have for the last few months. And on the topic of trying to make this game approachable for new players who don't understand blockchain, We need things to be stabilized. We need to know where we're going. We need to know where we stand. We have to stop changing things, I guess, dramatically. And if you really look at all the changes we've made, I'm not saying they were bad changes. I'm not saying they were in the wrong. I'm just saying we need stability so that new players can recognize where we stand or where they stand and feel confident on that ground, that foundation, to then invest or even invest time and attention. Because if you don't really trust what's happened before, how are you going to trust what is going to come? And if you don't feel that confidence or that faith in who the team is and where they're pointing and where they've come from, I don't know how you go ahead and start investing. And so for all those reasons, I want to see more stability. I want to see less radical changes. I want to see, but this is a game and it's a blockchain and this is revolutionary technology. And so you have to admit, man, these complex systems are complicated and it's hard to figure out how to do them optimally. And it makes perfect sense that if they're not optimized, that they would be tweaked along the way to be more closely or more better optimized. And so on the one hand, I want more stability. On the other hand, I need to acknowledge and admit that in this space at this time, we are going to see a ton more change, volatility, confusion, because it's still so new. I mean, guys, we haven't seen land get released, and that's going to be an absolute game changer, a literal game changer. We haven't seen, GLX and everything that's supposed to represent tower defense. There's going to be I bet there's going to be a ton more games that end up having value from your Splinterlands assets. And so the game that you think is Splinterlands is literally just a fraction. It's like you're looking at the tip of the iceberg. And the actual thing that we're investing in is so much bigger that we don't even properly understand it. And if that's so, if we don't even fully understand what we're investing in, how can we expect the developers to properly and perfectly predict how to, I guess, finalize all things? So I want them to be perfect, but we have to admit they're not gonna, and it's too much to kind of hope for, really. Wow, you guys, there's tons of comments here. I'm trying to answer every one of them too, but there are a ton of them. Let's see. Boot tops. Let's see. Steve saying people should have been holding SPS while it's only gone down is a bit mean. No, man. I mean, okay. Is it a bit of tough love? Maybe. But I've held it, and I don't know. See, everybody wants to say, it seems as though people want to constantly say, Dwayne, you're different. And, and so it feels as though anytime I ever bring up what my story has been, there's always this kind of, in the back of my mind, I can hear 10% of the people out there saying to themselves, oh, but that's not fair. Your situation is totally different because you're a whale. It's like, do you think I always was a whale? I just believed in a game that I bought tons of assets in. And, land was an example of this, and SPS was an example of this. And, SPS has gone down, so it's not an appreciating example, but I mean, I'm saying I bought tons of assets and I've seen that many of them appreciate wildly. And has SPS gone down and down and down? Yeah, it has. But for me, I've always said that it would. I really believed. I don't remember when I first started saying this. I should probably go find my old videos on this. But I mean, ever since it was at $1 at its peak, I was thinking, in the old days, in old bear markets, we saw cryptocurrencies lose 99% of their value. And so it felt like one cent was certainly possible. And now we're at 2.5 cents or something like that. And, there's been a bit of a bull run here today. Look at these, Bitcoin's up 11% today. That's wild. And I mean, Solana, dude, 30%. Wow. Like this is parabolic. Like, is it, I don't know if this is going to keep happening, but my view about cryptocurrency and about SPS and about all Splinterlands assets is that you never have enough of these things, because I truly believe this game is fun and it has a future. And I think it's at the beginning, the absolute beginning of its massive growth. So if I'm right about those three things, that it's fun, it has a future, and it's just getting started, then yeah, you should have bought SPS like at 10 cents, at 5 cents, and definitely at 2.5 cents. And if it goes to a penny, you should buy more. That's dollar cost averaging. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to give great advice. It's not that I don't know where it's going to go, but I think it could go down. And if it does go down, would I buy some? Yes. And if it went down to a penny and then I bought some and then it went down to half a penny, would I buy more? Yes. But see, that's the sort of approach that lets somebody fill their bags in a bear market. Because there really are two views. One, you buy when others are scared, or you buy only when everyone, says it's a safe deal. Those are the two people that invest. And when I talk to people on my channel or here, and I talk about SPS like I did around, you could have bought some and you still can, it's really, really cheap. I'm saying, like, as loudly as I can, I firmly believe in this game, and I firmly believe that massive higher highs are coming for SPS, for Splinterlands assets, for the cards, and we haven't seen the tip of we've only seen the tip of the iceberg for what this is. And so, you can take that, you can set it all aside and just say, like, I'm a fanboy and I'm wrong. Okay. But that's the confidence I carry into a conversation when I say to you guys, you should have bought more SPS. You shouldn't have sold it. You should buy more now. I believe those things, and I'm doing those things for myself. And that confidence comes out of that place I just described. If you don't share that confidence, don't share my view. But if you do see the argument that I'm raising as just and appropriate and believable, then it should, I guess, carry forward. It should carry forward that SPS at 2.5 cents it's a great buy. And that if you want to have access to the higher league levels and you want to have the benefits associated with SPS ownership, like being able to get into whatever league you want, like being able to play at whatever tournament you want, like being able to, sway the proposal votes, all of that is actually very reasonably attainable. Like, I mean, 2 cents. What are we talking here? Like what would I should be able to do this in my head, but I can't. So for $2,000, you could have 100,000 SPS, guys. I mean, it'd be 2,500, or maybe after fees, it'd be $3,000. I'm not saying that most people can do that, but there are people who invest in cryptocurrency and believe in this game and have no SPS, and that equation doesn't make sense. You believe in this game, you invest in crypto, you don't have any SPS. I don't get that person. And that's not Steve. I'm not talking to Steve. Steve's got a bag. Steve's in, got his chips on the table. But there are people, I'm talking to people who haven't thought that through. It's like, yeah, I love the game. I play it every day. So why would I buy SPS? Well, because it is literally the cornerstone of the game. And if you don't see that, you need to see that. Or you need to challenge, maybe you need to at least wrestle with whether you truly believe in the game. Because if you don't, you should sell your assets and get out, because you don't want to be in something you don't believe in. But if you do, then SPS is an integral part of that equation. And so I'm sorry if that sounded mean. Maybe he could have been possible he was messing with me too. Steve, the way you said that, like that I was being a bit mean. I certainly am not trying to be. I'm trying to give advice that I believe. And I believe what I just said. And so, yeah, I mean, disregard my advice if you want, but that's my view on the power of SPS and the importance of owning it. Bootop says, I was already saying that as well, but then some did not listen. It won't really lower the value. The most logical solution is to just have cards you only use on your lineup. I think you're saying like essentially the cards gauge your level. That's interesting. Astral Robot. Certain cards might drop in value. Sorry, Heatsmith. The ones that are useful may go up in value. I love the Heatsmith. You know, honestly, it's like he's kind of a meme to me. Like in a sense, he's so ignored and slept on, and it's not like, let's look at this. I mean, he's not as good as, you know, an Ever Hungry Skull. He's not as good as a Pellicar Merchant. He's not even as good as definitely not as good as a Conjurer. Out of these 12 cards, he's either the worst or the second worst. You know, maybe Bloodmaker is worse. And this is a good card. But Scattershot, it depends on what your team is like. If you've got Yoden, you're loving this. If you don't have Yoden, maybe you don't use something like this. It's got relatively low hit points. Scattershot is a little bit questionable. Like it's cool, but it can be, you never know where it's going to land. And so you might maybe argue that the Bloodmaker is worse than like a Heatsmith. I truly think this card has value though. For the 3 mana, I use it. At a higher level, I like Amp with Thorns and Void Armor. I like that it has 8 hit points and half of it is armor and half of it is hit points. The hit points become a desire or like a red flag at the metaphoric opportunity bull on the opponent's side, right? If you have a opportunity monster, it's going to seek my monsters with the lowest hit points. Well, this card is going to attract them because it's half armor, half life. I mean, I don't know why this card doesn't get played more. It's a good card and it's dirt cheap. I mean, this is. I mean, is it going to shoot up into crazy price appreciation in the short term? I don't think so. I'm not saying that. Is it even the best card on the screen? Like I said, it's probably the worst on the screen. But still, I think it has a role. And it's so cheap. You always have to say that. It's like, it's not just, is it a good card? Is it a bad card? You have to ask, is it a good card or a bad card? And then amongst that caliber of quality, if it's quote unquote bad, it's still in the range of like certain situations of utility, right? It's not just, there is no card in this game that is 100% bad all the time. Everything has its place. In a certain moment, it could be helpful. And wrapped in that sort of nuance is the idea that value matters. If the price matters, if it's selling for a penny, like literally $2, I think I paid for those max copies. We're talking, that's half a penny, right? I just paid half a penny for 400 BCX. Sorry, half a penny per BCX times 400 BCX. And I bought four copies of them or whatever. So yeah, man, it's not an amazing card, but it has a use and I like it. Not to say that the commenter was really crapping on it, really, just saying some cards will lose value. I agree that there's probably an argument in that. Like I said, I gave credit to Steve in that one. It's probably true that certain cards would lose a certain amount of their value if we move away from a CP model, because certain cards are being bought as a cheap CP. But I do believe that's a small proportion of the audience, because usually collection power is the easiest thing to get in terms, you know, if you want to fight a champion, what barriers do you have? 1, collection power. 2, your own your deck quality, because it's not just collection power, it's deck quality. And 3, your skill. So the 2 biggest factors are definitely deck quality and skill. It's not CP. CP is the easy hurdle to get over. And you're right, some amount of cards are being bought for that purpose, but it's so easy to get 250,000 CP or 500,000 CP for relatively low cost. Not to mention renting, guys. Like I'm talking about buying, but renting. And so it's easy to satisfy that CP requirement, and therefore I just don't think that's a huge portion of price of value of cards right now. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. It's just a theory, but that's what I think. My point more is my kitty and Jotun can't earn anything anymore unless I have SPS. Your kitty and Jotun can't earn anything anymore unless you have SPS. You could rent them, right? You can rent them. I mean, you can play with them. And so then you're saying, well, I'd have to have the SPS. Yeah, you would. You don't have to have SPS to rent them out, but you do have to theoretically have it to play and earn with them. I don't know. I guess I always thought that was going to come though. I always believed that SPS was, and maybe I misunderstood the white paper at first, but I always believed we were going to see SPS staking required at some degree. Boot tops. The funny. I don't know who Super Vinland is, but I like this. I like this funny little comment about Heatsmith. On Modern, that's not really a problem because some don't really use Jotun anymore due to the rule sets. Yeah, I feel Jotun has been kind of gutted. You guys know this. Between archery, return fire, between, you know, speed and evasiveness, between reflection shield, between armor and all the buffs it protects out there, it feels to me like Jotun has really been nerfed hard. And it feels like Kitty has retained the crown. It's funny because it's like there was a time where Jotun was the more powerful of the two, or at least the more expensive. I want to say Jotun was about 700 per BCX and Kitty was about 500-600. And then Kitty has still stayed around that same price point, I think. Well, not that price point, but I think Kitty's about $4,000. Let's see. Untamed, Summoner, Legendary, Regular. So Kitty... Whoa, dude, that's very reasonable right there. I sold my Kitty for 3,300 or something. Like, this is... If I had that money burning a hole in my pocket right now, I'd do it. So, but I mean, I sold my Kitty in October of last year for 3,000. And as you can see, it's gone down a good chunk. But look at Jotun. Jotun was selling for 700 per BCX. I want to say around last summer 2022. So like September, August 2022, maybe. I think that's right. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I think it's right. And now you can get a max copy for $1,000. Dude, go from $6,000 or $7,000 to $1,000. Jotun's got crapped on because of all of those sort of synergies and whatnot. Llama too, hey? Llama for 1,000? Like, this is a very strong card in the right context. Like every card in this game, in the right context. It's been good chat, guys. Great conversation tonight. Already an hour gone, hour and 6 minutes gone. And I feel like we did spend a lot of time talking about the SPS staking, but I feel like we've tackled several things, including the overpowered nature of the Heatsmith. And how I think I want to get like a new Heatsmith t-shirt. We got like a time and attention with like the Heatsmith logo. What do you guys think? What else is going on here? Steve, if you can't earn anything without SPS, you can't then max out cards, have no value to someone that doesn't want SPS. I see. So I think you're saying like maxed out cards lose value because there are fewer people who are going to want them because there are fewer people fighting at the highest levels. I think that's an assumption based on the idea that you think that there's going to be this real exodus of players at the higher league levels because they aren't going to have the SPS. And I'm saying I don't see the proof of that. I think there are going to be relatively reasonable and simple methods to equip them with the SPS required, and therefore they're not going to skip a beat. They're still going to want those cards. That's my assumption. And I could be wrong, but that's my assumption. For $6 a day, you can play in Champ by renting. That's wild. Like that's really, really inexpensive. $6 a day to play at the highest level of this blockchain-based video game that rewards you for your time and attention. And I was talking with HL49 today. He's a YouTuber, and I have a video coming out tomorrow. If you guys are interested, check it out on my YouTube. It's like about a 30-40 minute conversation between me and him talking about whether this game is still fun and rewarding at the lowest league levels. Like for the $10 ticket price, like is it still rewarding? So it's kind of timely to be talking about that. And I think it's a good conversation. But like Ape's saying it costs $6 to play at Champ by renting. And HL was telling me that they're getting 15 SPS per win at Champ. 15. You get 20 wins a day. You know, you're talking 300 SPS a day times a season. 4,500 SPS a season. And I guess if you said 4,500 SPS, if you call it 3,000 SPS, and then you call it 2.5 cents each, 4,500 SPS, well, it won't be that much. You wouldn't get that much. It probably is 3,000 SPS a season times 0.025. You're talking 75 just from the SPS that you're earning. 75. And if you said $75 divided by 15. So you're going to, I think this is right. What we're saying is you spend $6 a day to play at Champion using rental cards, and you're going to earn $5 a day in terms of SPS by playing at Champion. Plus you're going to get a certain amount of daily chests, season chests, and they're going to have SPS in them as well. And hopefully, if you're wise, you're going to be fighting in tournaments, meaning you're going to unlock value from the same cards in other ways. And lastly, if you're really smart, you're going to get over to Splinter Forge and use those assets in one more avenue that's going to unlock one other resource that's going to be enjoyable and have a long-term potential for price appreciation. So it really does, it can pay for itself. But you need to be wise about how you get the cards. You can use things like bids on your rentals, configure your bid pricing, and that should, essentially allow you to equip your deck with certain cards at a really reasonable price point instead of overpaying at a given time. It's just one thing you can do, but there's tons of other things you can do also. Bootops, I remember when I only had to rent 25 cents to get to gold. Wow. For beginners, like I said, if you begin the game, either you just go on a casual grind or you watch every day on Splinterlands TV plugin. Yeah, man, it takes, there's a special breed. Bootops is built different. He lives on the SPL TV. He needs food, water, hope, and SPL TV. So Bootops gets that shout out every week. Infidel, with my paywall comment, I don't agree with you comparing CP and SPS with supply and demand. CP is so abundant compared to the limited supply of SPS. If we change to SPS requirements, SPS demand will skyrocket and make it value higher. Some were saying 50K for Champ. Wow. Dude, if that's for real. See, again, Outwars, I talked about this, I think at the beginning of the conversation. I'm not sure how much of it, maybe you weren't here for a whole conversation, but since pretty well 8 o'clock when we started the stream, we've been talking about this topic now. And I don't mind, guys. If you guys are into it, let's keep going. If there's more questions and more back and forth on this, good. It's cool with me. But I said, I need to better understand how this, like the devil's in the details. I didn't say it that way, but that's what I mean. I want to know how much SPS I need to have. I want to know if there's some considerations around, is it a certain number of SPS? Is it a US dollar value of SPS? You see how those could be totally different? I want to know, if I don't have the SPS bag, can I still earn but not as much? If I can earn a little, is it 10%, 25, 50, 75% of my potential earnings? All of these considerations and options are, I imagine, on the table until I see the final product is released and it looks like X. And so without knowing some of the intricacies there, it feels like this could be totally fine, or it could be a complete nightmare. Like, it really just could go either way. If they did it wrong, where like essentially they set a huge SPS requirement, and then you're right, SPS spikes out of demand, because I do think SPS is going to spike one day, and I do think this will be part of that spiking. Like, not that it'll spike soon, but that this sort of weaving new value and utility into SPS is going to be a part of why SPS eventually spikes. And I think $1, $2, $3, $5 is possible. And you might think I'm crazy, but I believe it. So if that's so, and if you need 10,000 SPS to play at Champ and it gets to $5 in SPS, you're talking $50,000 worth of crypto to play at the highest level. That doesn't make much sense. That doesn't make much sense at all. But then in a bear market, SPS falls back down to 10 cents and suddenly it's only $1,000 to play at the highest leagues of a game that pays you to play it. You see how that could be a problem. So it's almost like maybe they need to think about whether we ask, you need this much SPS, or is it that you need this much US dollar value in SPS, $1,000 worth of SPS, which today is, I forget, but today is 100,000 tokens, I guess 50,000 tokens. And in a bull market, it's only 500 tokens or something crazy, that could make sense. And so the devil's in the details. And so you're right though. The one point you make that I really want to restate and reiterate, and because I agree with, is the idea that if we change to SPS requirements and SPS demands skyrockets and the value reaches higher, you may need to pay crazy amounts of money to play in Champ, and that doesn't make much sense. So let's be aware of that. I hope the developers are hearing this. I hope they're thinking that through. Also, SPS has a flywheel with the burn mechanics that are supposed to get to go wild. Yeah, this could be a problem. We can use tournaments. We can use the tournaments are the guide for the staked SPS requirement. The gold tournaments are 24K right now. As a guide, I got you. So you're saying like, look to the tournaments to understand how many SPS you're going to need to fight at the higher league levels. To fight in a gold tournament, the game is requiring you to have 24,000 SPS staked. So he's saying that means we're probably going to need to have 24,000 staked to fight in gold when they change things. It's a reasonable suggestion. Like, I mean, what you're saying probably is what they're imagining. But I almost wonder if we could maybe propose, let's change that to a dollar value. Like, what if you said 24,000 SPS equates to, is that $500? I forget. 2 cents per, whatever it is. Whatever that is. If you imagine the US dollar value and you said that's how much SPS you need, I think that's probably a smart thing. Because you're right, SPS is volatile and it will continue to be volatile. I hope that volatility will translate into future huge price appreciation, but even that appreciation is itself a form of volatility. People don't think about it that way. They like volatility good, price appreciation good, volatility bad. Volatility is how you get price appreciation. If things are stable, they are not going to go up either. And so volatility is present in Splinterlands, and that is awesome, in my opinion, because I want to see retirement type gains from this game, and I think it will. So yeah, but we need to think that through. Like, you could imagine introducing SPS staking and say you need 24,000 to fight at gold. And then you could imagine that when SPS price is like $5 a token, we revisit this conversation and say, guys, this is crazy. Like, to play in gold, I need, you know, to $125,000 worth of SPS. No, we can't do that. Come on, guys. So, like, proposals come along, and I would imagine that would be a slam dunk, like a layup. You know, we're gonna pass that. I got dibs on SPS staked from Dwayne. Might need some for that diamond or champ action. Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Guilds, guys, build those relationships. Get in a guild. You buy the SPS, earn the SPS, keep the SPS. Get into a guild. That's another way to earn SPS. Build relationships in this game. People who recognize you as a high quality, high caliber gamer, and they're going to then later on be in a position to take on you. There are so many ways to be creative about how you can do the Splinterlands thing with relatively low cost. But you need to be thoughtful and intentional about, I guess, creating these opportunities. Look at Nifty Arcade. Like they're giving away packages. You can be one of those people. You need to try and get one of those contracts or whatever they're called. There's not enough of them. So again, it's about being creative. It's like, I'm going to try and get one of those. I'm going to try every day, and maybe I'm going to get one tomorrow. And if I do, awesome. And if I don't, I'm going to try other things. Too many people come in and they say, oh, SPS is hard. I don't get it. I'm not going to try. And then they complain that Splinterlands is just not working for them. People who are tenacious and creative and thoughtful and, eager to invest their time and attention are going to be rewarded for this game. I hope that's you, because I'm telling you now, it's going to be me. And I'll be here over the next coming years. I'll be covering this game. And this is my hobby, guys. Like, I do this for fun. But I'm going to be sharing a story that can be your story too. But you got to be taking it seriously now, not in 2 years when the bull market is raging. And then you say, oh, man, I better buy some SPS. That is, that's wrong. Like, that's what most people are going to do. And that's wrong. So think it through now. I'm not saying ape in, today, especially when we have massive green candles today. But I am saying be thoughtful about what you're doing here. Do you believe in this game? Do you enjoy this game? Do you think this game has a future? Then you probably better position yourself with a good sized bag of SPS. I've been saying that for years, maybe. Definitely many, many months. It shouldn't come as a surprise to you that SPS is important. It shouldn't come as a surprise to you that high level card ownership is important. It shouldn't come as a surprise to you that they're going to continue to try and build value into those things, SPS, cards, and some of that is going to mean that they're going to have to be creative about thinking through mechanics that will reduce the supply of those things. Burn mechanics for SPS, diminishing mechanics or like less issuance of cards. So I don't know, man. I just feel as though all of this is just self-evident that it's going to require more and more kind of investment of time and attention and value for you to really thrive. But fortunately, and again, check out the stream tomorrow, I got a YouTube video tomorrow morning in which we're going to talk about how this thing still pays people who are paying $10 to get into it. And so, man, it's paying.